The Trump administration has made no secret of its desire to depose Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, as his country spirals further into economic and humanitarian catastrophe. But earlier this month, an operation to invade and kidnap Maduro shocked everyone, it seemed, but Maduro himself. Nick Schifrin reports on a bizarre, botched invasion attempt and the implications for a country in collapse.
The first sign the secret mission wasn't so secret, the Venezuelan military helicopter. As soon as Operation Gideon came ashore, it ran aground. More than a dozen captured, 8 killed, and among the detained, 2 Americans paraded on Venezuela TV. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro showed off their U.S. passports, blamed President Trump, and said the authorities knew about the plot all along.
They came to Venezuela. We named them. Their little game was revealed.
The mastermind of this misadventure, Jordan Goudreau, whose promotional video shows him as a former Army Green Beret, CEO of a private security firm, and provider of security at a Trump rally. During the raid, as his men were being captured, he posted a video with his Venezuelan co-conspirator.
At 1700 hours, a daring amphibious raid was launched from the border of Colombia deep into the heart of Caracas.
And in a Skype interview with a Venezuelan news organization, Goudreau bragged about how he'd been training for a year.
Are you familiar with Alexander the Great? The Battle of Gaugamela. Completely outnumbered. He struck deep into the heart of the enemy, and that's how he won.
There was no U.S. government direct involvement in this operation. If we'd have been involved, it would have gone differently.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo denied the administration knew, as did Venezuelans interviewed by PBS NewsHour. But the Trump administration has waged a diplomatic campaign to oust Maduro, announcing criminal charges and a $15 million reward for his capture in March.
Maduro and his other defendants have betrayed the Venezuelan people and corrupted Venezuela's institutions.
And in February 2019 in Miami, President Trump urged Venezuelans to rise up.
Let your people go. Set your country free. Now is the time for all Venezuelan patriots to act together as one united people.
The centerpiece of the administration's campaign is Juan Guaidó, whom dozens of countries call Venezuela's rightful president. As part of Guaidó's effort to overthrow Maduro, he turned to Miami-based Venezuela consultant J.J. Rendon, who's usually focused on politics.
And when you talk about how Juan Guaidó wanted you to use all options or explore all options, what does that mean?
He specifically say all options are under and over the table. We're exploring, and he uses the word exploring, that is accurate, every option. We have, according to our constitution, the mandate, not the right. Every Venezuelan, invested or not in power, have the duty to do whatever in his power to recover a state of freedom and democracy.
Last year, Rendon hired Goudreau and agreed to this 42-page, $200 million agreement designed to be paid with Maduro's money. The plan was to capture, detain, remove Nicolas Maduro with a quick reaction force of Venezuelans. Their operations had to minimize incidental injury to civilians and use force that was necessary and proportional. It said use of all types of conventional weapons is permitted. But Rendon said he quickly grew skeptical and cut ties to Goudreau last October after paying Goudreau's expenses.
We back off. We didn't like the guy to keep talking to us anymore. There were some red flags too. I told him, look, if you have some expenses, I will pay myself. And I did. So we said, okay, you have that, 50,000 is good for you, fine, bye.
Guaidó denied any personal knowledge of the operation and shifted the blame to Maduro.
We have nothing to do with any company for obvious and evident reasons. But we have to make it very clear right now, nothing the usurper can say will change the reality and the situation that our country is going through.
Venezuela is suffering from debilitating inflation, a humanitarian disaster, and worries about a COVID-19 outbreak. Maduro used arrested American Luke Denman.
I was helping Venezuelans take back control.
And Adrian Barry.
What were the objectives of the mission?
I believe it was to get Maduro.
To shift the focus, to condemning the Trump administration.
Donald Trump, Mike Pompeo were directly behind this. It was a contract ordered by the State Department as a covert operation against Venezuela.
Goudreau launched the operation even after Colombia intercepted some of his weapons. He didn't reply to PBS NewsHour requests for comment. The opposition and Trump administration officials believe Maduro co-opted the operation.
There was a push for some patriots to get slaughtered and killed, to stage a theater and victimize themselves in the middle of the worst moment of my country. Sorry about that.
On Monday, after 20 years in the Venezuelan opposition, Rendon resigned as an unpaid advisor to Guaido.
Spiritually, let's say, and myself, yes, I would love to go back in time, not talk to him, and not be related to this craziness. And the sacrifice of people like Slaughter.
The Trump administration and Guaido are trying to ensure the botched operation doesn't derail their campaign. And Maduro, whether puppet master of the operation or its target, remains firmly in power. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.